What's up YouTube? Welcome to today's video, another useless patch brought to you by GGG. So at this point, I've been pretty disappointed with the league mechanic. I did try to give it a tryout and it just didn't feel that rewarding, especially with all the feedback going around how saying the past league mechanics are very, very bad. And that's exactly how it feels like when you do an essence tile or you do a breach tile or you do a legion tile. It literally feels like it's worthless. The other tiles are okay. Sometimes you find some currency and you might get lucky and get a divine every couple lakes. But in general, sometimes it is astounding how little currency you can walk away with in the lake. You can literally do a full lake and come out with 10 chaos. And you spend a while doing it. And you have to prep the map for like 8 maps or 10 maps before. And it just ends up being a horrible, horrible, horrible experience. So right now, players have been eagerly anticipating a patch that will buff the lake rewards and alleviate the culling meta revolving around loot goblins, and maybe they would even address the loot that's dropping in the game at the higher level with juice mapping. And they did say that they were going to take our feedback into consideration. I can bring this up with their last post. When was the last? Follow up our recent feedback. Kalandra League, in the Lake of Kalandra, they said much of the community's feedback this league has focused on the rewards coming from the Lake of Kalandra. And they did say they're making the reflecting mist 50% more common, but I actually found some really disturbing news about this, which is that the reflecting mists are almost always garbage. Currently, we feel that general drops are okay, but the past league content has not been rewarding enough. So they asked for our feedback about which past league encounters in the lake. So for this patch, you would pretty much assume that they're going to buff a lot of past league encounters. And we'll see in a little bit which past league encounters they actually ended up buffing. So player retention has actually dropped to historic lows. And I mentioned this because a lot of people say oftentimes, like, why even care about player retention? Just play the game your own way. You don't need to worry about it. Well, a lot of people don't really play SSF, and that's just such a shitty thing to say. You can say all you want that you could potentially not have to deal with trade, but the fact remains is that if you're playing Trade League right now, you will notice that there's a lot less items for sale, a lot less people buy your items, and it literally feels like the league is in its second week right now, or second month. Right now, we're at probably prime time EU and really good time, and it's under 50,000 players. When I played a game at nighttime from where I'm from, the game has 20k players, and that is pretty, or I think it even dropped down to 19k players yesterday. But it pretty much feels like I'm playing a league where there's no one playing anymore. And it feels like the second month after the gauntlet, and that's what it is. But a lot of people also say, what about the player base in terms of how many people are on Steam versus the client? And this is 60% Steam, 40% client. We know this pretty much because GGG actually said that the peak of player was 250k across all platforms at launch. And we do know 150k of them were from Steam. So that makes it so Steam is probably about 60% of the players. And I think GGG in the past has also said that Steam has slightly better retention. Not 100% sure about that. But as you can see, the player chart, Kalandra at 33.7. Next lowest league was Scourge at 36.8. Now, it is worth mentioning that Scourge actually got fixed a lot by them just buffing the hell out of player quant. So maybe there's going to be a change upcoming that makes Lake the best league I ever seen and played since Sentinel League. Well, look at Sentinel. Sentinel actually got a lot better, and it was at 43.4%. So Sentinel League turned things around, but Kalandra League really went into the dumps. But let's go see what changes they actually made to the patch. So the patch, first thing I read in the patch, I was immediately disappointed. If you want to know how you can get disappointed, 3 words in, I was already sad. And you can see why. Let's go check it out right here. So by the end of the week, we're planning to deploy. So the changes aren't even going to be happening for like 3 or 4 days, or two days at this point. But they do say they're going to address things such as balance changes to Arch Nemesis and Eldritch currency. And they didn't really mention Lake. So that's when I mentioned, and some improvements to the Lake of Kalandra. But the important thing to note is that the following patch notes are still subject to change prior to the patch's deployment. So that technically means that they could be changing everything about the lake. The lake could be very, very rewarding very, very soon. And this might just be me right now. But perhaps subject to change means that Harvest might be coming back. It's probably not coming back. But anyhow, let's get straight into what the patch is all about. So first off, we have these Lake of Calandra changes, and boy oh boy are they disappointing. So number one, increase the amount of reflecting mist by 50%. There's actually a post on Reddit, and I never really thought about it too much about what reflecting mist actually were until I actually did a bunch of lakes and I got a lot of reflecting mist. Now, this person says they buffed the most useless aspect of it, the reflecting mist. The only usable rings are the ones we make with reflection of Calandra. So reflection of Calandra is the one where you can put your own ring in, and the reflecting mist just generates you a random one that are pretty much complete garbage. You select Calandras in my hideout, giving me free random rings every minute, and chances are I'll probably end the league without finding a very good one. This buff changes nothing. So this person says they should have buffed the chest rewards on the lake instead, or increase the chances of finding the reflection of Calandra. Now, the fact that this is the third buff to the lake and still nobody will run them shows how disconnected the devs are from reality. So the devs are going with the anticipation is the source of all fun idea, while ignoring that if the outcome is always bad, there is no anticipation. And that is true. I did quite a few lakes, and the reflecting mist is terrible. It generates you a 4 mod ring that is almost guaranteed to be trash, in my opinion. They also changed something with the breach lord spawn closer to the start of the breach. Don't know if that will do anything. You can now hide behind rock formations. And that sounds pretty good. Maybe you can dodge some of the boss's skills. They widened some bridges connecting reflection tiles. And I do think that this is going to be one of the biggest changes in how it's going to feel. Because right now the lake actually feels really bad to play. Because it's super, super narrow. And it feels like you're doing that one zone in Act 7. Where you have to run after you put in the map device in the Chamber of Sins. And it really feels terrible. It feels like you're constrained in your movement. You're waiting for the tiles to spawn. You get stuck around corners, and it just feels absolutely awful. And League Reflections now have dialogue. So for any lore lovers out there, I guess Lake of Calandra might give you some new content. Now, Arch Nemesis has been changed yet again. I think this is like the third or fourth nerf to Arch Nemesis. Now, heralding minions can no longer be found on delve monsters. So the reason behind that is that you could be leaving a delve monster behind in the dark, and then you can be chased down by these heralding things for the whole time that you're in the delve. So you can see here, this is someone who had that same fate suffered, and then they died after they completed the node. Now, rare monsters spawn during boss fights like Lava Lake are now limited to 2 Arch Nemesis modifiers, which actually makes a pretty big difference, because if you're doing like Lava Lake boss or Katava, Belfry, or any other boss that spawns a lot of rare monsters, you will notice that you're pretty much having a harder time against the rare monsters than the boss itself. And rare monsters that do not drop loot now are also limited to 2 Arch Nemesis modifiers. So this is pretty much like Cortex boss, where you have all of those rare monsters that spawn during the intermission that actually don't really drop anything. And this is a change that Gazi will probably love. Auras from Executioner, which stops your minions from getting above 50%. And Verdant Spores no longer affect player minions. I don't really know what this does. But overall, some nice little changes for quality of life and minion players in general. Now, next up, we have the Beyond changes, and these are big. And let me tell you, big being 5%. And I don't really know why they put this stuff into the patch. It really just seems like they're mocking the player base in a weird sense. Like, why would you even put life of Beyond bosses have been lowered by 5%? Just don't lower it at all, because it just makes it look kind of like the cleave plus 2 radius, right? So I don't really know why it's been lowered by 5%. Maybe the Beyond bosses were too hard. But they did lower the life of all other Beyond monsters by 60%. So let me know down in the comments below if you felt the Beyond monsters are really tanky, because I haven't really noticed anything so far this league. They've also improved the outcome odds for Tainted Orb of Fusings, Tainted Jeweler's Orb, and Tainted Mythic Orb. Right now, a lot of studies have been done, and people pretty much say that Tainted Orb of Fusing is around a 10% chance to increase your link, and Tainted Jeweler Orb is also a 10% chance. So Beyond bosses can now no longer spawn in temporal incursions, and this is big because a lot of people who were trying to do challenges would spawn the Beyond bosses in Alva Temple and then be unable to actually finish the challenge because the Alva Temple would actually end. So these Beyond changes are kind of all useless outside of the Tainted Currency, but it is a step in the right direction as they're trying to fix some things at least that are relevant to the player base. So next up, we have a bunch of random assorted improvements that kind of change stuff. but not really. So they lower the damage dealt to minions by league monster skills and endgame map boss skills, and this is pretty much because the minions are literally just getting destroyed right now. I think minion as an archetype is in its worst state ever. We go to PoE Ninja, we'll probably see that there's no minion builds even in the top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. There's no minion players at all. And it's actually just kind of sad. I don't even know where the first minion build actually is. It just doesn't exist. No one wants to play minions because they're terrible, even after the rework. Now, Eldritch currency cannot drop in lower area levels, and the drop rate also has been buffed. So they're pretty much trying to use Eldritch currency as a workaround to harvest crafting being gone with reforce key prefix and suffix. And it is kind of weird how they get rid of reforce key prefix and suffix, while there's Eldritch currency that pretty much does the exact same thing for certain pieces of gear. So not really sure where they're going to go with this. They do say in the future, perhaps, Eldritch currency can be used on more pieces of gear besides just your gloves, helms, and boots. Now, and chests. Marks applied to you by a monster are now removed if you move a great distance away from the monitor or monster. I mistyped this. But basically, before you would get sniper's mark on you, and if you don't kill the monster that applied a mark to you, you will pretty much have it up on you for the entire duration that you're in the zone. So this is a huge change for quality of life and making it safer in general in hardcore. They also lowered the amount of rare and magic monsters spawned during harvest boss encounters. So if you ever fight like the yellow boss or purple boss or blue boss, it'll be a lot easier unless you're using Headhunter. And Hoarder Crafting Station now displays how much life force you have available. So now you no longer need to look in your stash to see how much purple life force or blue life force or yellow life force you have. It will display on the Hoarder Crafting Station and be very apparent how much you actually have to use. Now, confined mouse window now keeps you from accidentally clicking on black bars. I guess before it would just make you still be able to click on the black bars, but now it'll keep you inside the window if you use a monitor whose aspect ratio is much higher than what the game actually will allow you to use right now. Now, overall, this is the best bug fix I could ever imagine, and there are quite a few bug fixes. Some of them are like they're fixing the beyond spawns or something like that, and just a wide variety of stuff. Not really sure if any of these things actually matter. The biggest thing I could see is fixing an issue where packs of beyond monsters could sometimes fail to spawn rare monsters. Not really sure how often that was occurring, but this is definitely the best one. Fixed a few wonky microtransaction interactions between some back attachments in the astral and golden character effects, and these character effects actually look pretty cool. So if you want to log in and buy it, let me go check out how much these character effects actually cost. And look, did I just download a new patch? Actually, nope. But let's go see what we have here in store. So in terms of the new character, how much are these microtransactions? I'm guessing they're $10, so 100. So if you want to buy the character effect, I think there's skill effects, right? Or not? Astral Storm Call effect character. It's $25? Oh my goodness. Golden. Oh, this is on sale, so everyone log in. Only $15. That's not too bad. But basically, they did fix some microtransaction things, which is always good. But what about the game, right? What about Lake of Calandra League? And at this point, I don't even know what to say anymore. I think a free back is falling upon deaf ears. I don't think they're going to change anything regarding loot. I don't think the MF co-meta is going anywhere. And I think the community is right to be upset about the lack of meaningful changes to the lake after all the feedback that was given. I saw multiple posts on Reddit and the forums about the league mechanics that felt bad in the lake and which past league mechanics should get changed. Maybe they'll change it in the next patch. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll actually make the lake rewarding by increasing the loot from the chests. And at this point, it's got to be a stubbornness thing, right? I don't really know why you will refuse to buff a league mechanic that is temporary and that you can remove in the next patch and that no one would care. At this point, the player numbers are vanishing. Like, it's not even just lowering slowly. It is actually vanishing, and that's before Wrath of the Lich King comes out. At this point, we're going to be seeing 5-digit numbers by the end of the first month in terms of player base on Steam. Or 4-digit player numbers, not 5-digit. 5-digit is already what it's at. At this point, I don't really think any changes will make players come back. PoE is not really a game you take a break from and return. No one really stops playing the game for 2 weeks and then suddenly comes back and plays more. I mean, some people do, But a large majority of players that I do know do not actually do that. When someone says they're done with the league, they're actually done. They move on, they go to play a different game or go do some stuff in real life. And there's no mention of loot fixes at all. They did say in the follow back to feedback, they said that they were still monitoring the situation, and I can't find this right here. So let's go see right here. So in the follow up on recent feedback, they did say that right here, where is it? Let's see, loot. I don't even know where it is. But basically, they said that they were still monitoring what was going on with the whole MF culling meta. Oh yeah, as we mentioned in the last post, some players noted they prefer item drops to have lower variance, fewer spikes of valuable rewards, so the way rewards averaged out across more encounters. This is something we're still discussing, and I guess they're still discussing it to this day. But as you can see here, the whole Reddit is not really happy. How to fix PoE at 3.19.2. Rare monsters that do not drop blue now drop blue. Daz missed the point again in this patch. We're keen for specific feedback. Why did you ask for feedback and then do nothing? They should have at least mentioned something about that. So the visionary MF Cole meta and Flash Whetstone spam is here to stay. Well, I guess we got our answer at 3.19.1. No meaningful changes whatsoever. Enjoy your game with the 10% or so of the player base. Still no improvement after 3.19.1. And at a certain point, you just gotta wonder, a friendly reminder community is still waiting for communication. Can we get some honest / transparent answers? And this is not me just cherry picking like topics. This is literally every single post at the top. And at this point, you gotta wonder, why are they so stubborn about fixing the lake or giving more communication? And they have communicated a lot, but recently it seems like they kind of given up on the league, and I can understand it completely. At this point, the league is beyond saving, and we just have to accept with what we've given. And at this point, look forward to 3.20, right? I do think 3.20 could be potentially the best league ever that rivals Sentinel, and everyone will be getting loot. Everywhere will be filled with loot, and Beyond might be back. It might be better than before, and maybe I'm just overdosing on copium. But thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know down in the comments below if you think this patch has piqued your interest in PoE and maybe made you want to play more. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more Mirrors, Exalted Orbs, and Mage Bloods and Divines than me. And see you next time. Bye.